we're going to start the meeting. Joan, will you please call the roll?
Broderick,
Present.
Budzinski,
Present.
Garcia Guillen,
Present.
Lee, Lozano,
Here.
Mahalik, Morales, O'Connell.
Here. All right, thanks for everybody showing up for the meeting, however it is, virtually or in person. We'll have Jim, you do this Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Joan, are there any public comments?
No requests to speak, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Business reports, Julie Curry and Brent Hassard update. 111.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. These are for Brent. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, trustees, President Mitchell. Can I just put this down here for a second? Thank you for having us tonight, and it's good to see everyone in person. We're here to give you a legislative update in terms of what's happened over the last year in the General Assembly and kind of some of our projections for how we see things going for the rest of the summer and the fall veto session, because actually the spring session has yet to formally adjourn. The beginning of this year saw a lot of new changes. The Illinois House elected a new speaker. Michael Madigan, after serving 36 years as Speaker of the House, was not reelected. Chris Welch is now the new Speaker of the House. Over in the Senate, Don Harmon is in his now second term as Senate President. Dan McConchie is the new Republican leader, and I almost forgot our good friend Jim Durkin still remains as the Republican leader in the House. Throughout most of this year, as all of you know, the General Assembly conducted the majority of their legislative hearings remotely via video, Zoom, which was an interesting process for those of us who had to participate in those Zoom meetings and try to enter into the meeting room and do all those kinds of things. As the session wore on and the legislature actually returned to the Capitol in March to start, taking up business of the state, obviously remote hearings still continued, but both chambers were meeting in person. For those of us who have to get into the Capitol and some of the surrounding buildings to see legislators, it was a bit more difficult. We had to go through COVID testing 3 times a week, so basically every other day. And on the Senate side, you could only meet with members if you had appointments. The House was a little bit more lax, so we had the ability to see more of those members. Most of the restrictions have been lifted, as you all know, with the full opening of the state, but as in most public places, you're still required to wear a mask inside the Capitol. So obviously we expect things to be a bit different when we go back for the veto session in terms of protocols and whatnot. We'll still have to wear the mask, but we'll have full access to all legislative staff and members of the House and General Assembly. Major issues, obviously, for this year, with everything, as you all know, the difficulties with COVID and the pressures that put on the college's budget, but also on the state budget, were enormous. If it weren't for the additional money or the money that we received from the federal government, the state would be even more in debt than they already are. But with the COVID funds that they received, they were able to put $3 billion to pay out debt service, and the $350 million in cuts to elementary and secondary education that were scheduled didn't happen because of the American Recovery Plan Act. The total state budget was $42.3 billion. Elementary and secondary education, they received $9.2 billion, and higher ed received $1.9 billion. Higher ed, in terms of public universities, colleges, received a 10% increase. The Illinois Community College Board received a 6% increase. Most of the new money went towards, $25 million went towards costs associated with early childhood education. And then level funded programs were $3 million in alternative school network, $18 million in the adult career and technical education program, and $23.7 million into the bridge program and other competitive grant programs. Of course, the capital or the budget bill also included the reappropriation of some of our capital projects, all of our capital projects, including some of the member initiative grants that we received from House Minority Leader Durkin, and then the $300,000 from then Senator Bertino Tarrant. So those were still in the budget. Some of the other big issues that the General Assembly faced this past session, and I'm sure you all heard about a lot of this, every 10 years, the state goes through reapportionment, redistricting. The Democrats passed their map, and at the present time, there are several lawsuits now that have been filed by the minority party and other organizations challenging the way those districts have been drawn. There was also an election reform bill that passed that changes the primary date, which is generally in March, to June of next year. So that means petitions won't start to be passed until sometime in January, and then they'll be filed between March 7th through the 14th. So a much different primary season than we're used to. Also, with regard to election reforms, mail-in ballots are going to start to arrive in the mail on March 30th. That's been a kind of a permanent thing that's been created. The election reform bill also permits curbside voting and also allows sheriffs to set up ballot booths at county jails. Now, that's just a few of the items. There's more in the report that alludes to the other things that happened. The General Assembly also passed a version of some ethics reform legislation. It streamlines statements of economic interest, prohibits General Assembly members from lobbying other governmental entities while they're still in the General Assembly. Believe it or not, that goes on. It bans legislative fundraising on days that the General Assembly is in session and days prior to session days. That's a big change. I mean, if you're ever in Springfield, especially during the beginning of the year, there's fundraising going on the night before the General Assembly is in session. And so this is a welcome break. Earlier this year, during the lame duck session, as you all know, the police reform bill was passed, reforming training, including body cameras, use of force, and a whole host of other issues. Obviously, one of the big issues that we were working with regard to other community colleges was the early childhood education bill that passed, House Bill 2878. It was not what we wanted, but in the end, it was a compromise between, our universities and colleges, and then community colleges. We think it's we got our foot in the door, And I have to give great praise to Senator Pacione-Zayas, who's a freshman legislator who did an awesome job of articulating why it was necessary to allow community colleges to offer a 4-year degree for the early childhood education program. She did an outstanding job, and I don't believe we would have gotten what we did get without her leadership. So, I mean, for a freshman legislator, she did really an outstanding job. Some of the issues that didn't pass at the end of May, but then were taken up in 2 days of a special session a week or so ago. The Senate was in session on June 14th and the House was in session on June 15th. The purpose of the special session was to take up some issues that the General Assembly did not finish by the time it got to be June 1st. And one of it was the energy bill. And I know that you all have interest in that because it has an impact on the college. I'm sorry to say that legislation is still kind of out there and there's no compromise on it as of this date. It's as I think every minute goes by, the thing just gets bigger and bigger, which is unfortunate. Obviously, there's concern here locally for the, Exxon's nuclear facilities, and if they don't do something, I think soon you're going to see some action by Exxon. A couple other things that they passed during that 2 days of a special session was some reforms to the FOID card program and concealed carry program. And with the Illinois Department of Employment Security, there was an agreement reached with business labor groups to fix the state's unemployment system. So hopefully that'll take care of some of the problems that the state has had to face over the last year. So that's kind of like a broad version of some of the things that we tackled. I'm happy to answer any questions. Brent, do you have anything you want to add?
Covered.
Did you mention anything about the statement of economic interest when you were talking?
I think I did, or if I didn't, that was reformed too.
What did they do? What did they do? Because I have some concerns on those statement of economic interests.
Let me get my notes out here. A lot of it was streamlining the statements and clarifying some of the information that's requested. I can get you more detailed.
Could you? Because
Yeah.
my concern falls on this, because I did file a complaint with the state's attorney's office on one that was running for election that doesn't file the statement of economic interest the correct way. And according to the Secretary of State, the rule on it says if you do it, there's a punishment fine, and there's also where you can't run for another office. And you're not eligible to run for another office if they're not filled out completely the correct way, which you falsified that statement of economic interest. And my concern falls in that I called the Attorney General. The Attorney General referred me back to the Secretary of the State. The Secretary of State referred me to the county clerk's office. And the county clerk says, because it's Will County, it's the state's attorney's office. And even if you make the complaint, you have no idea of knowing what they've done. And the election is over and done with. And this was filed prior to the election,
Right.
which would have ruled this person to be removed from the ballot. And in talking with the clerk's office said that would have been rules to remove them.
I know that there are tougher penalties involved in it, so we'll get all that for you, I promise.
Okay. If you could get whatever information, I would be
Will.
appreciative.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That was easy.
No?
Well, I know you have on here, and I'm going to ask one more thing.
Okay.
This is always an interest to me since I'm a lender. It says that the governor is extending the moratorium on evictions. Are they doing any relief for the landlords? These landlords are suffering big time. And I mean, I know this is not school, but I'm going to ask that.
Relief in terms of financially?
Anything to help the landlords out, because the landlords are paying those mortgages.
federal program
yeah.
and a state program.
Yeah, I think that there's a grant program through DCEO.
Is there?
Mhm.
If you have anything on that, could you,
We'll find out.
would you? Thank you.
Yeah, I know that I've heard that one too.
Yeah, you've got a lot of landlords that are in desperation right now.
All right, well, besides the landlords, do we have anything else? Do we have any other questions?
I would like to ask about Senate Bill 818. It's not on here, but that is very concerning to me. I don't know if anyone's heard about it, but it's going to teach 10-year-olds how to masturbate and sixth graders how to stick a condom in their anus. These are topics that are inappropriate, and I am really concerned for the 20-year-olds that we will be getting in 6 years. Is there anything being done about that bill?
I'm going to have to, I mean, I'm not
No.
following it right now. I mean, I remember the debate in the Senate and the House, but I remember it in the Senate. I don't know what happened to it in the House. We'll have to find out for you.
Thank you.
I have one quick question. You mentioned something about getting assistance for was it the unemployment office or what was it with the unemployment office?
Well, I mean, if there were numerous over the last year with COVID and stuff, and with all the federal money that came in, the Illinois Department of Employment Security didn't do a very good job of, well, let's just say there were people who got checks that shouldn't have gotten checks. And so there was a lot of problems that they needed to get resolved, and that happened.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, they didn't like necessarily get more money for operations. It was, they did streamline their process and change some rules and stuff like that.
Okay.
They opened their offices back up.
Yeah, and they opened their offices back up, which made a big difference. I
Made
think
a big difference.
people were trying to get through by calling and stuff
They
like that, and they couldn't do it, and it just created havoc all over the state.
So they are open now?
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you.
Have they done anything more with all the fraud that existed of the false claims?
They're working on it, and part of what the legislation did was address that.
Okay.
What was the outcome of that? What are they saying they're going to do?
Well, I think they've overhauled the system so it doesn't happen again. I
Mm.
mean, it was,
They were just not prepared for the magnitude of what COVID did. And the system wasn't designed, they didn't have a call center set up for people calling in. They shut down the offices. It was a perfect storm for everyone to try to access their information. And they tried to fix it. They brought somebody in as the director, which we both know was trying to do a great job, but it was not set up to deal with what they faced. And now they're trying to right that ship just in case.
I was referencing the fraud. What are they going to do for all of the people who had fraud committed against them? If you know, if there was anything decided on that.
Not sure.
yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, we'll have to get more detail on that for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for addressing all the questions, whether they apply to the school or not, and for promising to get back to us
We will.
on those things. Thanks very much. We've got everything? Okay. Thank you. We have 1.1.2, SEN 3.0.
And Dean Bob Morris is
John.
here.
Bob Morris.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Good. Hey,
Good.
before I get started, I do want to take this very quick opportunity to once again thank everybody that helped make graduation so incredible for our students. I keep hearing about it, even a month later, just the overwhelming positivity of the event from students, from parents, from faculty, from staff. So again, just a very quick and heartfelt thank you to everybody for helping make that day a wonderful day for our students. So, okay, now we're going to talk about an update on the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan. I'm trying to share my screen. I had some trouble doing this a little earlier. Hopefully I can work now. Okay. I know that's small. I'm trying to figure out how to make it bigger. It worked differently last time for me. Well, I know you all have a copy of this in your packets, so that will certainly help. When I met with everybody in the fall and updated you on the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan, one of the things that was very interesting to me was the conversation, the comments, and the questions that you presented me with afterwards. And I'll address some of those in a few minutes, but for the benefit of the new trustees, the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan 3.0 was written approximately a year ago, and we are just now concluding year one of the plan. We modeled it after the college's Strategic Enrollment Management Plan, and we based it on 5 themes. Originally, there were 4, admissions and recruiting, retention, academics, and community engagement. But we all know that a pandemic hit that forced us to become a very nimble virtual campus. And as with any effective strategic enrollment management plan, you always have to be nimble and you always have to stay on top of things by making revision, especially considering that the world around you changes so quickly. And we all know that for a fact. So we added the 5th theme. And since we've last spoken about the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan, again, based on a lot of the feedback that I have gotten from you and have gotten from some other, from Dr. Farmer, Dr. Mitchell, from other faculty, other staff, there are some things that since fall we have incorporated into the plan that I think are going to be really important things for us to strive to achieve and certainly to measure. So I've listed a few of those here. And again, this is basically just an update on the plan. One of the things that we really want to do is increase JJC's visibility and participation in local and civic events. Now, that was very difficult to do over the past year, but we all know things are opening up a little bit now, and we really need that. We're feeling a year without that. We're feeling the impact of that. So it's going to be really important for us as a college to take advantage of opportunities to be visible in the community, to be participating in local events, civic events, festivals, fairs, things like that. So that is certainly something we're going to work toward, and that's been in addition to the plan. We also wanted to really take a close look at how we were reaching out to our minority population, specifically the Hispanic and African American populations, because as you know from my presentation in the fall, and even earlier this spring when I talked about spring enrollment, those populations were very heavily impacted by COVID. So we really need to, as a college, and we are doing this, take a step back and look at how we are reaching out to these students. What does our website look like? Are we including Spanish events at all of our financial aid workshops, at our admissions events, at Discover JJC? We're doing those things, but again, it's now integrated into the actual plan, as with the next bullet point as well. The Spanish sessions are critically important. You know, we want to get our Hispanic population back, but we understand that it's going to take a different approach than some of the other populations. So we want to make sure that we are meeting those students where they are, and we are speaking to them in easy to understand, navigatable ways so that they understand the process going from I'm interested in Joliet Junior College to I'm an enrolled student at Joliet Junior College. So that's a big emphasis for us going forward as well. It has been always, but now we're putting even more emphasis there. Improving customer service in all departments. This is something that will be part of every strategic enrollment management plan that I ever write or have a part in writing, because we all know that when students come to us, they expect a polite, professional encounter. They expect to have their questions answered. They expect to be responded to in a way that basically has them leaving thinking, okay, I understand what was just said and I know what to do next. And that's all about customer service. So looking at training opportunities for our staff, making sure that we're paying attention to how we answer the phone, how we interact with students that come to the front desk, how we're reaching out to them now through virtual means. Customer service will always be a priority. And to that end, we have created a customer service committee, and we're going to start doing more surveys assessing that. So again, anything that is worth its while in a strategic enrollment management plan also needs to be measurable. One of the populations that I mentioned when I updated you in the spring was the incoming transfer student population. And again, this is a new population for JJC in a lot of ways. When you think of transfer to community college, your first thought is, okay, they start here, they transfer somewhere else. But we're learning that a lot of students started somewhere else, and because of COVID and because of changing career and academic goals, they're now seeking to transfer in to JJC. So we're looking at our processes. We're looking at ways to make sure that those students have a seamless path to become JJC students. That's extremely important for us because I think that's a population that will continue to grow. I know I spoke at the last spring update talking about the landing pages for the parents and the high school counselors. Those are proving to be very effective so far, but we're just starting. We just created them, and they'll continue to be modified and updated, and more videos will go out for the parents. And our counselors so far are very appreciative and offering wonderful feedback on the counselor landing page, making sure the information on there is what they need to help their students that are in front of them. One of the other things that I know came from my discussion with you as a group in the fall when I updated you was talking about the need to build relationships with businesses. And oftentimes that means building relationships and creating those seamless processes for students that are on the non-credit side to transition into credit-bearing programs, certificates, degrees, things like that. So we're working towards that. There's going to be some initiatives underway there because that's a population that's already here, and it's certainly in our best interest to make sure that those students have a seamless, easy transition if they want to go into a credit-bearing program. The Community College Advisory Board, I know I spoke about that in the spring, and again, just some updates there. It's going wonderfully. And to your points earlier in the spring, we're looking to expand it. We started small because we wanted to make sure that we were nimble enough to really get to the heart of what was important to the counselors that really wanted to participate. Well, this spring, we had a really good interaction. We had, I believe, 4 meetings with those counselors. And I feel like now we've set the bar. So now it's a matter of expanding it. It's a matter of looking for new and innovative ways that we can help them, and also that they can help us by better understanding their worlds and better understanding, how we can better partner. Our high schools are the lifeblood of JJC in a lot of ways. So the counselors play a critically important role in that. And we want to make sure that we are always seeking their input and being there for them as well. So we are concluding year 1, as I mentioned. So where does that take us? Well, year 2 is going to very much be about assessment, measurement, setting key performance indicators, and looking for ways to really determine if the objectives, the action items, and the goals within the plan are being met. Are we on target for some of those? So a subcommittee was formed that is specifically going to look at key performance indicators for within each theme, look at the measurable outcomes, and then beginning in year 2, because year 1 we're setting the benchmarks, but year 2, that's when the measurements, that's where the in-depth analysis of where we are with the plan will begin in earnest. So we're working towards that. Our weekly snapshot committee still meets weekly to look at the day-to-day enrollment trends. Where are we up? Where are we down? Which populations are trending forward? Which ones do we need to perhaps put a little bit more emphasis on from an outreach or marketing perspective? Those are things we're discussing weekly. The Strategic Enrollment Management Committee itself meets monthly, and we talk about the items that I've just reviewed. So when you talk about key performance indicators, there are a few, and obviously there are going to be a lot more, but I wanted to touch on a few just to give you a sample of what they're going to look like. Obviously, we want to increase our Hispanic enrollment. I am starting with a 3% year-over-year goal beginning this coming year. Currently, and I have updated numbers that are within a week old, perhaps even a little bit more updated than what's on your slide deck. We are currently up 2.1% with our Hispanic enrollment in fall 2021 versus fall 2020. In our African American population, we're setting a goal of, again, 3%, but we are even better than what I have on the slide. We are currently up 15.2% year over year, fall 2021 versus fall 2020. Increasing our total head count. The data right now says that we're up in head count by, I believe I have 2.4%. This was as of the last week's data that I have, but we're down in credit hours a little bit. So I just wanted to demonstrate to you this evening that we are going to have those key performance indicators, and we're going to certainly use them to measure the effectiveness of the plan. One of the things that we will be so excited about doing, and I can almost see the smile on Jim Sir's face, is using Workday to begin tracking the conversion rates from prospect to applicant. We were never able to do that in Colleague because the system would not allow it. We are now, with Workday, going to be able to measure the conversion percentages of the students and say, yeah, I'm interested in Joliet Junior College. Let me give you a little bit of information, and tracking how many of those students transition to applicant, and then how many of those applicants transition to registered student. That data is going to be really important for us to measure, and Workday is going to allow us to do that much more significantly than in the past. So we're excited about that. So what does it all mean in terms of, where are we going? Well, I'll tell you, this is my 21st year in enrollment management, and it has been the most interesting, to say the least. And there's not even a close second. We adjusted the strategic enrollment management plan to incorporate a fifth theme dealing with creating and executing a virtual campus. We did that. We were successful. Now we're moving into a post-pandemic world. A post-pandemic world where employment opportunities are more plentiful now, perhaps, than they've ever been. Our main competitors this fall are not necessarily four-year schools. Our main competitors are the employers who are putting an option in front of these would-be students and saying, come work for me. You'll never get a higher rate than what you're getting right now. So we are competing with the employers out there, but it doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other, and we're learning that in the numbers as well. Our full-time population is trending down. That's expected when you have such high employment opportunities for our potential students, but our part-time population is trending way up. So we're looking at ways, and I've had some wonderful conversations with marketing, and looking at ways of sort of shifting the pendulum. And instead of thinking about, well, how should students fit JJC into their world? And we're looking at it now as, how should JJC fit ourselves into their world? Are we offering the programs that meet the part-time students' needs? Are we meeting their needs in terms of advising, in terms of engagement, in terms of outreach? The part-time population is going to be significant, at least in our immediate future and perhaps in our long-term future. So again, with the strategic enrollment management plan, you're never done. You never sit still. You're always trying to stay one step ahead of the next thing that's about to happen. Sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you get thrown off guard, like when a pandemic hits. But I know that when I update you again in the fall, it will be even more vastly different than this update, with new objectives, new action items, and I will have more measurable outcomes to share as well. So that's my update for this evening, and I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Thank you. I do not have a question, but I have a comment. So thank you so much for the presentation. I hear feedback. Thank you so much for the presentation. One of the things that you mentioned was the key performance indicators. Those seem like a starting goal. I look forward to continuing the conversation on how we can continue to increase that from 3% to a little bit higher. And then once we get our students to JJC, providing them the best experience that we can, that all the resources that we have, and connect them so that way they can go ahead and continue on. Thank you.
I have a question. This is Trustee Alicia Morales. Are you currently doing any, do you talk to your colleagues internally to see how we can transition the GED graduates into our full-time courses, our credit courses? Are there any conversations between you and the adult and basic ed divisions? He didn't hear me?
He's on mute.
Oh. I think you're on mute.
I apologize. It's only been a year since I've been doing this, so I apologize for that. Yes, there are conversations happening. I have been talking with Dr. Michelle Smith, who works through the City Center and is in charge of that. And it's part of one of the objectives that I mentioned, and that's creating that seamless process for, and I know I specifically mentioned non-credit students, but that also includes the GED students, the ESL students, and everybody that is helped by workforce development and the other programs that we offer. So yes, we certainly are having those conversations. And I think this coming year is going to be an important year for us to make significant progress in creating those seamless processes for those students that you mentioned.
Would you be able to track that and report how many students we bring in from the workforce, how many we bring in from ESL, how many we bring in from GED? Only because as community colleges, it is our responsibility and only our responsibility to ensure that we're capturing these students into these programs, because this is not an area that four-year schools they don't have the resources to help them. This is something that we as community colleges, we have the funding, we have the infrastructure, and we have the responsibility to this audience. And this is exactly who we need to be targeting. And they would be definitely one of our bigger feeder students is the ones that are coming into the GED program, transitioning them into the college level program. So if you could include in your reporting in the fall, maybe, and break it down by how many from workforce, GED, ESL, and so on and so forth, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I could not possibly agree with you more. I think that is a population that should be transitioning more easily to credit-bearing programs, and I agree with you that the tracking of those students is also critically important. So yes, I will be able to report more in-depthly on that in the fall.
Thank you so much.
If there's no further questions, thank you, Bob. We have one more? Well, yeah, we do. We've got one more. Just a minute, Bob.
Sure.
Hello, Bob. I just had a question. I know you're looking for places to table to try to get enrollment out, try to get our name out there. I do know this Sunday, the Joliet market is happening. It's the last day, actually. That'd be a perfect place to put a table up. I know, Kelly, I don't know if you're aware of that. Awesome. Okay. Oh, perfect. So we're going to be there Sunday? Oh, okay. Awesome. I think that'd be good. I'm going to be there. So, okay.
Wear purple. For sure.
All right. If that's it for the questions, then thank you, Bob, and thanks for graduation too.
Oh, thanks again, everybody. I always appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and update you on enrollment. That's what I live for. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have 1.1.3, Illinois Green Economy Network.
I'd like to invite Cecil Lucy to the podium.
Good evening, Chair O'Connell, trustees, President Mitchell, cabinet, guests, and visitors.
Good evening.
Attached for your reference is the intergovernmental agreement between the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency and Joliet Junior College. As the new fiscal agent for the Illinois Green Economy Network, or IGEN, Joliet Junior College will receive funding appropriated from the Renewable Energy Resources Trust Fund through the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, for education and training for renewable energy, energy efficiency technology, and for the operations and services of the network. iGen is a consortium open to all 39 Illinois community college districts. Formed in 2008 through an intergovernmental agreement, iGen's mission is to provide a platform for collaboration among all Illinois community colleges and their partners to drive growth of the green economy and workforce. iGen's vision is for the Illinois community college system to be a global leader transforming the economy and the education for a sustainable future. And I know we all have reasons to agree or disagree as it relates to global warming, but Joliet Junior College has done its portion and contributions for renewable and clean energy. For example, if you look at the solar panels as you enter the campus, and also making sure that we implement leadership in energy and environmental design in our construction projects as well as our maintenance projects. iGen's approach leverages the power of a sustainable network with the community connections of individual colleges to expand deployment of clean energy technologies, increase employment opportunities, improve environmental and human health, foster community engagement, and accelerate market competitiveness. There are 8 areas of focus that guide the work, including building sciences, energy, manufacturing, natural resources, sustainable food, transportation, waste, and water resources. iGen has successfully managed the implementation of numerous grant-funded sustainable related initiatives and programs at Illinois community colleges statewide, totaling over $30 million. iGen is led by an administrative team that receives direction from a president steering committee, which would include Dr. Mitchell. Heartland Community College serves as iGen's administrative agent, and beginning in fiscal year 22, with your approval, the fiscal agent role will transition from Lewis and Clark Community College to Joliet Junior College. And based on the fact that we also have a history of excellence in budgeting and financial reporting, we feel that this will be a great opportunity for Joliet Junior College to continue to contribute to excellence in the renewable and clean energy areas. And let me just also say, Attorney Carl Buck, our General Counsel, has reviewed the intergovernmental agreement. I'll take any questions you may ask.
Sounds good here.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We have a moment of silence for the following people. Larry Thompson Sr., grandfather of Keith Hill from Information Technology. Salvador Magana, brother of Michelle Mia, library. Betty J. Christensen, mother of Pat Christensen in student development. Virginia Lorraine Hannigan, grandmother of Officer Brian Hannigan, campus police, and Patrick Hannigan, facility services. And Leonard Hodgman, retired faculty member and former board of trustee.
And I think we should add any of those people that were involved in that tornado that touched down in Woodridge and Naperville. I think all of those peoples with the devastation and what they're going through need some special prayers at this time.
There was also a horrible accident that recently on 80.
We'll include them in our prayers. All right, 1.3, recognition of special guests. Do we have any extra special guests? Okay. 1.4, selected reports. Recognition of retiree Susan Prokopic. Jim, you would like to read Susan's recognition on her
Yes.
retirement?
Resolution, whereas Susan Prokopic has been a loyal and dedicated employee of Joliet Junior College from August 2003 through June of 2021 for 18 years of service in the library, starting as a part-time librarian and retiring as a professor and department chair. And whereas throughout her years of service, Susan Prokopic has demonstrated admirable support for the ideals of education as well as for the institution of Joliet Junior College and the people whom the college serves. And whereas the service performed throughout her years at Joliet Junior College has always been of the highest standard of professionalism, quality, and excellence. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District Number 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois does hereby recognize and commend Susan Prokopic for her distinguished service, as well as her diligence, perseverance, and loyalty in executing those duties as herein stated. Adopted this 23rd day of June, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Joan, call the roll, please.
Broderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Hi.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. Well, Susan's not here, and I don't think Jean Terrell is either, but we better read Jean's as long as we read Susan's. Michelle, could you read Jean Terrell's resolution?
Resolution, whereas Jean Terrell has been a loyal and dedicated employee of Joliet Junior College from February 2007 through June 2021 for 14 years of service in disability services as a part-time instructor and reading specialist and retiring as a tutor in the Tutoring and Learning Center. And whereas throughout her years of service, Jean Terrell has demonstrated admirable support for the ideals of education as well as for the institution of Joliet Junior College and the people whom the college serves. And whereas the service performed throughout her years at Joliet Junior College has always been of the highest standard of professionalism, quality, and excellence. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District Number 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois, does hereby recognize and commend Jean Terrell for her distinguished services as well as for her diligence, perseverance, and loyalty in executing those duties as herein stated. Adopted this 20th day of June, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Joan, call the roll, please.
Broderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Aye.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. Nancy, would you read the resolution for Judith Bucifero?
Yes. Resolution, whereas Judith Bucifero has been a loyal and dedicated employee of Joliet Junior College from May 1996 through June 2021 for 25 years of service, starting in the accounts payable department and retiring as the manager in budget and risk. And whereas throughout her years of service, Judith Bucifero has demonstrated admirable support for the ideals of education as well as for the institution of Joliet Junior College and the people whom the college serves. And whereas the service performed throughout her years at Joliet Junior College has always been of the highest standard of professionalism, quality, and excellence. And now, therefore, be resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District Number 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois, does hereby recognize and commend Judith Bucifero for her distinguished service, as well as for her diligence, perseverance, and loyalty in executing those duties are hereby stated. Adopted this 23rd day of June 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Joan, roll, please.
Roderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Aye.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. And Alicia, can you read Patricia Mackey's resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know you had a mouthful
No,
at
no,
the
it's
time.
No problem. All right. Whereas Patricia Mackey has been a loyal and dedicated employee of Joliet Junior College from August 2002 through June of 2021 for 19 years of service as an adjunct instructor in the Fine Arts Department. And whereas throughout her years of service, Patricia Mackey has demonstrated admirable support for the ideals of education, as well as for the institution of Joliet Junior College and the people whom the college serves. And whereas the service performed throughout her years at Joliet Junior College has always been of the highest standard of professionalism, quality, and excellence. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District Number 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois, does hereby recognize and commend Patricia Mackey for her distinguished service, as well as for her diligence, perseverance, and loyalty in executing those duties as herein stated, adopted this 23rd day of June 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Joan, the roll, please.
Roderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Aye.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. Adjunct faculty union report. Well, no, faculty union report, Dr. Marsink. If he's with us.
Joan, did you hear from him?
I did not, but typically he does not report during the summer.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we have the same thing for the adjunct faculty union report?
I would imagine so.
Okay, all right. Good, we'll give them the day off, that's good. Approval of minutes for the special meeting, April 28th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll, please, Joe.
Roderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Aye.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. And approval of the minutes for the regular monthly meeting, May 12th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Joan, roll, please.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Roderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
and O'Connell.
Yes. All right. Do we have any communications?
No
Ms.
further
Tierney.
communications, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And the 1.17, at this point, we're going to go into closed session. We will be returning, and hopefully it'll only be like 20 minutes tops, hopefully. We have a motion for going
the
into closed
reasons.
Reason
session.
for going in. The
Pardon?
we need the 3 points of why we're going in.
Well, it's 2C1, 2C2, 2C11. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we're going in for 2C2, 2C5, and 2C11 in this session.
Okay.
So correction to the motion?
Yeah. Do I need to say the new numbers? Okay. Correction to the motion, going into closed session for 2C2, 2C5, 2C11.
Second.
So moved. Second. Oh, sorry. It's okay.
Joan, the roll, please.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Broderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
and O'Connell.
Yes.
Ready?
Okay.
Now we need a motion. Let's go back in the regular section.
So moved.
Second?
Joan, call the roll, please.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales.
Yes.
Broderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. All right. 1.9, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Joan, call the roll, please.
Broderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. 1.10, excuse me. Point 1, approval of the consent agenda is presented.
So moved.
Second.
Joan, call the roll, please.
I'd like to
Okay.
move 2.81 and 2.82.
So noted.
And I have questions in general for 2.2.
Okay. Carry on.
Can you just clarify for the record, Trustee Morales, do you want to pull all of 2.2 to go through those individually?
No.
or-
No, I don't want to go through them individually. I just have a question over the overall process.
Okay, so we can deal with it right now. Is that what you're suggesting?
Sure.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to clarify, so
Yeah.
we do it in proper order.
Thank you. So is it open for discussion now?
It
Or
is.
just- Okay. So I'm noticing we have a lot of recommendations from the president for, it looks like 2 assistant professor positions and 5 associate professor positions, 1 professor position, and several others. Can you explain to me, when you appoint someone into these positions, are and it looks like they were due to retirements? So are these positions that then they get posted and then they go through the interview process and they're the final candidates that are being recommended to take these positions? Is that what?
Correct. And this is their first year appointment. And if you recall, it requires 3 years before they become tenured.
Okay, so then these are, and I'm assuming, I hope that we took the DEI criteria into consideration, into what we've been asking, our students have been asking, they want to see more faculty of color as well. Was that considered when making these appointments also? Not only are they qualified, but are we considering the DEI criteria when making these appointments?
Okay, and then I'm going to turn this to Dr. Whitehead, who oversees the committee structure when they're selected. So, Dr. Whitehead?
Yes, we did go through part of that process for us looking at increasing minority applicants. So the searches, some of these were online.
She needs a microphone. I can't hear a word.
But all of the searches, we that criteria.
Excuse me, can you walk up to the podium?
I can't hear a word you say because you don't have a microphone.
Good job, stop.
I was doing that too. Yeah, great
I'm sorry,
job.
but
We
I
just
didn't
want to hear
a
it
word
louder.
You said.
How's everyone doing?
Okay.
Thank you very much. So yes, we look at every search, every full-time, every part-time search the same way from the perspective of what does the pool look like? What is our yield of minority applicants? And so for each of them moving forward, one of the things that Dr. Mitchell charged me to do is to create a dashboard with all of those metrics so that we can see those on a regular basis. So where did we, seek minority applicants across the board, and not just looking at, gender or sex or race or ethnicity, looking at it collectively to say, when we speak of diversity, are we speaking of veterans? Are we speaking of those that, identify as disabled, so that we can look at it holistically. So we will be able to, Trustee Morales, moving into Workday, do some reporting that gives us a deeper dive so that we can say to you, this is the percent of minority yield from the pools. This is where we're getting minority candidates so that we can start seeing some yield of the applicant pool to what our student ratio looks like.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's all I
Anything else
have.
before I go back?
No, ma'am, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so still have pending approval of the consent agenda as presented. There's been a motion and a second. 2.8 college employees you wish to address?
You have to go with the motion first
Mhm.
of approving the consent agenda, and then we come back to each of those items separately.
Uh-huh. So is that what you want to do?
That's what we have to do.
Well, no, we don't have to, but, if you want to do that, we'll do it.
I think we do, because you have to have a vote for each one individually. That's why it was pulled. Correct, Carl?
Well, you pulled them, so that's fine. Like trustee Morales didn't pull those, she just had questions.
No.
So you wanted those pulled.
I
So
want mine
once they're
pulled.
pulled, then you deal with them separately, that's correct.
Right, okay.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Broderick,
Aye.
Bazinski,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. Two point eight college employees.
2.81 and 2.82 separately.
All right, we'll vote on those separately. Joan, the roll, please.
So we have to have, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. First, we need a motion on 2.8.1.
2.8.1.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion.
My only concern is after seeing the end results, I was not satisfied with the cure, if you want to call it, or the settlements. So I just want them voted on separately. That's my comments. Thank you.
Okay.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Broderick,
No.
Bazinski,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. 2.8.2.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Same goes, the same rhetoric for, as I did for 2.8, 2.8.1. It appears the same for 2.8.2. I'm not satisfied with the end result.
All right. Joan, we could have the roll, please.
Pardon me, Morales,
Yes.
Broderick,
No.
Bazinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. So we still have to vote on the approval of the consent agenda. The rest of these we haven't voted on.
Voted on the consent.
We
Your
already
next
did
item is
that.
4.5,
Okay.
which was not on the consent agenda.
4.5 is not on the consent agenda. And so we have a motion and a second on 4.5.
So moved.
Second?
For clarification,
4.5.1, motion to suspend the rules temporarily to allow public comment on the FY22 budget.
Right. Any discussion?
Dr. Mitchell, could you share with us the cuts that were made on that budget so the public, we've seen it? Anything that you'd like to specify that should be mentioned at this time?
What I can tell you is the budget was crafted based on the 2020 budget year, 2019 budget year. So we held it flat from that number. But what I had shared earlier with the board is we were very aggressive with with those considerations that we have on hold. So tonight you actually voted on some of the faculty replacements, but I believe we still have about 11 or 12 on hold. We have multiple positions on hold and they're reviewed by cabinet and by the president for final approval before we move forward. Last year, we also held back on to be very conservative with our budget. Obviously, there was no travel. We had significant reductions in savings from our expenditures. Our enrollment, unfortunately, was down, but with that, we are down in adjunct and overload. So we have, I want to say it nets out, and Jeff typically has that right up in the board book, so you'll see that more in detail. So we consider with that, continue to move forward with that conservative approach, even going forward into the new year. We had requested all of our employees to hold their budget flat, with the exception of any critical or capital type projects or, energy, utilities, things like that. We did make a small investment in some of our security within IT, which was obviously critical and essential, especially in light of everything that we hear now going on, across the country with hacking and things like that. So there were no new positions. We had reallocated positions within, and that's what I continue to challenge all of our team with, is looking at the positions. We have some that will be short-term temporary positions funded through CARES to help us through COVID, and as we continue to move back to the campus community. So I'm extremely pleased with the budget submission this year. And for those of you that know me and don't know me, I keep Cecil and his team on their toes, Jeff, and continue to watch the budget just as much as they do. So,
And we did use some of the COVID money that came in to help defray some of the costs, and there's still money that's still remaining, correct?
absolutely. And we'll have an updated presentation for you at the August workshop, because we had the original CARES funding, we had CRISA, and now we have the American Rescue Plan. And so, if you recall at the last workshop, Dr. Farmer and Cecil came up and they presented what those dollars look like. We have, in addition to the significant amount of money that goes back to our students, we want to make sure that, especially with the ARP funds, that it actually extends out an additional 2 years. So we want to make sure that we're not awarding all that money right up front, that we continue to engage our students along with the money that we're receiving from the foundation and scholarship money, emergency money. And then what we did, we actually created it's like a mini grant within JJC that we opened up to the campus community to submit new initiatives and new ideas for consideration. We've gone through the first process, and I believe out of the first 10 submitted, we supported 2. So we're very restrictive on those funds to ensure that all of the requests support our mission, our vision, the future growth, and the future jobs that that we'll be looking at for our students, how we deliver our coursework. Some of the money tonight was voted on for the camera systems and the video equipment that will be used in the classroom to allow for an increased hybrid HyFlex option. So we've been doing great work, and we look forward to providing you a report in August with an update.
And I think by what you've said, the detail of it and the conservative approach that you take, it's well thought out in your cabinet, and you do a great job in doing that. And I want to say, I think we know as board members that the most critical thing that we're looking at when we're looking at anything for financials with the school is the budget. So
Absolutely.
Thank you for those details.
Oh, absolutely. And I look forward to the new finance committee that was created by the by the board this year. So Cecil, Jeff, and I have a meeting so we can just put our thoughts together and then invite our new trustees to that committee. I think that's a great initiative. We're really looking forward to that as well.
I have a quick question for you, Dr. Mitchell. You know how you said some of this money that goes back to the students? Do these students have to be full-time? Is there a
actually, I'll
requirement for that?
defer to Dr. Farmer on that, because she oversees all of the CARES funding, the distribution for our students.
Thank you for coming up to the dais.
So good evening again. And in fact, they do not have to be full-time, but remember when we did the presentation in the past, it really depends, because there's specific criteria for each grant. I wish I could remember every single one of them right now, because I don't have some of that information in front of me. But again, some individuals have to be Title IV eligible. The unique aspect about the grant right now is that you do not have to be Title IV eligible. In fact, DACA students are also included. So it seems like the federal government is starting to open up a little bit more and be a little bit more inclusive in terms of supporting our students. But I'll be more than happy to follow up and provide your report and maybe summarize some of the information that Dr. Lucy and I shared in the past. So I will be willing to do that.
Thank you. Are you referring to the American Rescue Plan dollars?
Yes.
In opposed to the first round of COVID, or?
Right,
Or
correct.
was it the CARES, the first one?
CARES, remember, is kind of the umbrella.
Right.
But it's HERF 1, HERF 2, and HERF 3. So again, I'll be willing to provide that information in writing.
That's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In addition, with the ARP, we also had found out, looking through the FAQs, that that we have students. So originally they told us we could not use the money for tuition specifically. The money had to be delivered directly to the students. But in working with Yvette Johnson and the grants department and looking through the language, we can utilize those funds to retain those
Correct.
students that we were losing through despite COVID, attract and retain. So there's some language in there. And, unfortunately, unfortunately, when we all talk as a team, some of the areas are very gray. And I think they do that, I don't know what the intent is, but, the federal government, we appreciate the money, but it's trying to make sure that we're utilizing those funds appropriately where, that they can't come back to us at a later date. But this new language in ARP was very positive, so we're looking forward to
Good.
it.
Yeah, much more inclusive.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Great.
So, Mr. Chairman, just by point of order, we need a vote on the motion to suspend the rules and allow public comment and then call for public comment prior to resuming regular session.
And that's what we'll do. We'll call for public comment.
We have
Make a
to vote
motion.
on the motion first. That we just kind of got out of order. We just need to vote on the motion.
Okay.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Broderick,
Aye.
Zinsky,
Yes.
and O'Connor.
Yes.
Now public comment.
Now we're asking for public comments.
Is there anyone on, Jim?
Anybody want to make a public comment out there?
I don't believe so.
All right. There being no public comments, then we'll entertain a motion to return to regular session.
So moved.
Second?
Joan, call the roll, please.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brzezinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connor.
Yes. 4.5.3, the president requests approval of the administrative recommendation for the FY 2022 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Joan, call the roll, please.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brzezinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connor.
Yes. Going down to 5, student development, no action required. 6, new business, old business.
I have something that I'd like to bring up and share. In all the times that I've met with different of the members of the ICCTA, they've come up with this idea, and I think this is something I'm going to share, and I've shared it with Dr. Mitchell, and she seemed very favorable about it. We talked at our retreat about going to the schools, the high schools. Well, here's something that came up too. It's called a greet and meet quarterly, where we would go out as trustees. We could go to the school, invite the superintendent to host us, and also have the financial planner there and work on developing more for the community to see us out there. And the meet and greets have stimulated enrollment increases because now they put faces to us and we're live bodies and we're actual people that are concerned about our 7 counties that we're in. And I'm just bringing that up as a suggestion, as a recommendation, because the schools are looking, or the community colleges are looking for any way to increase enrollment. I think a meet and greet where we set up with the superintendent, we still could go to the school meetings if that be the case and be assigned, but I think a meet and greet and let the community know that they're there to come and ask us questions. And they could have their financial planner there that advises them, and this would combine the working, as was mentioned in one of the presentations, of the financial planners, the counselors being in and involved with us and being attached to us, which would give us more recognition and also show financial stability with coming to a community college for a student for their first 2 years and looking at their financial non-high level indebtedness to come to a community college and still get a high quality education. So I'm throwing that out there as a suggestion in new business for Dr. Mitchell to possibly explore it if all of you are happy about it or think about it, but it's a thought that I'm throwing out there.
Is this something that the trustees would then reach out to the superintendents and like, what is your vision for the
It's-
infrastructure?
Okay, it's more this is how it was explained to me. They meet with the superintendent, our president arranges it with the superintendent, that we have a meet and greet, that's going to be the place we're going to meet and greet. The superintendent is invited with their financial person and their counselor to be there, but it's publicized through the community that school services. So let's say we're in Plainfield and we invite all of that area, or Romeoville, we invite all that area, or New Lenox, we invite all of Lincoln Way. It gives the community an opportunity to see who the 7 of us are. It gives us an opportunity to say, this is, as ambassadors and trustees, this is what JJC offers. And it gives JJC more visibility.
Absolutely.
And I'm just thinking that we all look at the enrollment, we all look at what we want to do to increase enrollment, and that's a big issue. We want to keep tax dollars down, we're watching our budget. I just think this is a key thing that we could look at. And Dr. Mitchell seemed very positive, so I'm throwing it back out to the board to address it.
And it was brought out at the retreat, the high
Right.
school visits, which I thought was a great idea. So, if you're okay with that, we'll, I can work on something with the team and develop some type of schedule and come back with the board.
Yes, that would be awesome. I think everything we can do at this point to increase enrollment, now that we're reopening, is positive for not only the board, but for the community, for the students.
Community,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Especially whatever we can do to help these GED students' enrollment increase also, because there's a lot of people working out there that don't have one, and they really need one to progress in their work and their jobs.
Right, and the key thing, I'm going to share this with you, because we had Senator Tim Ozinga here yesterday, and the key thing is, people don't know what we're about. And he said, pictures are going to tell people what the campus looks like, because some people have the old knowledge of what JUCO, and I'll call it JUCO at the time, so we know it's now JJC. When he came in yesterday, he was so enlightened by, oh my God, this building, everything you have is just wonderful.
Beautiful.
And it's getting people in to know what we have, or for us to broadcast what we have. So even if we had a PowerPoint that we go into these campuses and show them what we have and what our courses are to offer and what our strengths are, that's a big positive. And we're there as the ambassadors to further exemplify and be the ambassadors to JJC.
Also, it could be combined with additional presentations from the admissions office and having a few different spots for people to touch base, not only with us, but different offices within the campus.
Frontline, like admissions and financial aid.
If we do that, we should try to make it fun for the kids, because we want to, and even if we made it like a movie night and we offered popcorn and got like a little popcorn machine, I think that, for high school students, and to try to make it a little bit, and the PowerPoint fun, so that it can be interesting.
Yep.
Well, it erases that COVID feeling that now we're seeing faces to faces, we're coming back alive, we're coming back normal. It invites them to see us as real, not as a Zoom or a team. It's here, we are here. And a lot of the mayors are doing that. Even the mayors could be contacted to be included in whatever school we go to, so that we have the people there. And I mean, even Representative Ozinga said he'd come. I mean, you could get people to come to let them see who you are. And it's just more of an opening to give you stuff and to get people more involved.
I agree. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Attorney Buck, I would just have one question as we put our planning together. If we have more than 2 trustees at this type of event or gathering, or we're talking, as long as it's not college business, it's more promotional, are we okay?
Generally, yes, but you'd still notice it.
Right.
That's usually the practice, is to notice it as a public meeting or a joint public meeting. That's what they generally do, is a joint public meeting, just so that you're covered, because even if it's promotional to a certain extent, advocating on behalf of public bodies, so you wouldn't want to run afoul of it, but you're correct, that's what you do.
Okay.
Right, and just like the villages do, they put it on their website. They identify that they're having the meet and greets and that the trustees will be there. That's the agenda, open discussion, Yep.
Okay.
If you do them as work sessions, under the work session, it's a simplified agenda. You don't have to do public comment and all that other stuff. So that's how they usually organize them, as work sessions. They don't consider them to be regular meetings, which requires all the components.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right, it's been pointed out that 4.6 through 4.14 were not addressed in the consent agenda.
They're missing an asterisk.
Sorry?
They're missing an asterisk, yeah, so we.
Yes, yeah, they're missing in action. So unless someone has specific objections or questions concerning 4.6 through 4.14, we can do one motion and get through those agenda items.
That's correct.
Why wouldn't they have been considered in the agenda? The
They
consent
were, it was
agenda?
just an
It
error.
should have been on consent agenda. It's just a typo,
Mhm.
but because this is our public notice, we want to make sure and go and approve them anyway because
Okay.
they're obviously necessary expenditures or transfers or things of that nature. So rather than create any issue, go ahead and do a motion. Motion would be motion to approve 4.6 through 4.14, and then we'll go.
So even though we're looking at like the new business, which is the first reads, and the old business the second, those are included in the consent agenda, correct?
They're not. So the only thing that's included in the consent agenda is approval if you had a third read. These other ones you don't actually take action on.
Okay.
So the way your agenda is constructed, you don't take action on first and second read, you only take action on thirds.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 4.6 through 4.14.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Joan, the roll, please.
Morales,
Yes.
Broderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. All right. Approval of the third reading of the policies consent agenda. You can read those. Reports. JJC Foundation report. Christy Mulvey.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are excited to announce that the proposal we wrote recently for Amazon has resulted in a $50,000 gift to the foundation. $30,000 will be used to set up an Amazon book endowment, and $20,000 will be put in the student emergency account. We are looking forward to having a representative from one of the local Amazon distribution centers on our foundation board of directors. We have two foundation-funded enrollment initiatives, which I've announced previously, totaling $250,000. So far, 79 students have applied for the Scrap the Gap $500 scholarship, and 13 students have applied for Step Up part-time to full-time scholarship to help students that are currently part-time who can't afford to attend full-time pay for their remaining classes. Scholarships for fall are currently being scored in our review teams, and the money will be awarded on all students' accounts before the first drop date in July. The Athletic Foundation Golf Outing will be held this year in August, on August 13th. So if you would like to participate, please let me know. Last year's event was very successful, and we're hoping to plan for a sold-out day. We continue to receive applications from students requesting student emergency funds. We award emergency funds daily to help students pay for books, supplies, tuition and fees, uniforms, food, gas, and other important essentials. We had a successful event in the memory of Richard Tex Rivera on June 3rd. Approximately 80 people attended the road naming and reception, and Rich's family was present. 2 scholarships have been set up in the memory of Richard Rivera, one for a student worker in grounds and one for a student studying horticulture at JJC. Also, a tree was planted near the facilities building, and there's a commemorative plaque there for Rich, and 4 bricks were placed in the bell tower area in front of the A building in his honor. The next foundation board meeting will be July 21st at 7:30 a.m. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Representative to the ICCTA.
Hello. Okay. On June 4th and 5th of 2021, which was this past couple of weeks, the ICCTA Board of Representatives had their convention and annual meeting held in person and virtually via Zoom at the Marriott Bloomington Normal Hotel and Conference Center in Normal. Pleased to announce that Trustee Michelle Lee, Jim Budzinski, Alicia Morales, myself, and Dr. Mitchell were all present at this meeting, which was great. Oh, and I'm sorry, and our trustee, I'm sorry about that. Our student trustee, Dave Lozano, too. Great for all of you to show up. Thank you. We reviewed at our meeting the fiscal year 2022 state budget. Community colleges will receive flat funding and an additional $27 million in federal stimulus funds to overcome barriers created by the COVID pandemic and support student learning renewal. We received a report on the Illinois General Assembly's end of session activities and bills impacting the community college. State lawmakers will return to session in mid-June to work on a clean energy omnibus bill and new congressional maps. We discussed House Bill 2878, which also Julie Curry discussed, which was the Early Childhood Access Consortium for Equity Act, which basically creates the Student Parent Data Collection Act beginning September 1, 2021, requires each public institution of higher education to determine the parental status of each of its enrolled students and collect specified information about the student if the student indicates that a student is a parent. Beginning September 1, 2021, requires each public institution of higher education that operates one or more child care centers or early learning centers on its campus or it otherwise is affected with a child care center. So that's what's going on with that bill. And then we heard updates regarding the Illinois Council of Community College Presidents, the Illinois Board of Education, and the Association of Community College Trustees, which that's part of which I'm on, which is all of the states in the centralized area. We all talked about enrollment. We talked about what we're doing now that COVID is supposed to be going away, and the vaccines and getting back to normalcy, and that was the big issue. Discussed was Rock Valley College. They have voted to rejoin the ICCTA, bringing our association up to 100% membership, which means our increases in our fees will not go up because we've got them back, which is great. We installed and elected the ICCTA officers for 2021 to 2022. Dr. Maureen Dunn, who was at our retreat, she's going to be the vice president now. I am going to be the treasurer. And then Bishop Wayne Dunning from Richland will be the secretary, which we will then join again. John Looney, he's going to be the president. He'll be from Black Hawk College, and our immediate past president, Bob Thompson from Sauk Valley. We adopted a mission statement, vision statement, and a 2022 strategic plan, which lays out our 4 goals, which is information exchange, training, advocacy, and administrative efficiencies. And if all of you remember, we had these charts that Dr. Dunn had provided to us at our retreat. So if anybody doesn't have them, I have them all because we did have those. And they were great talking about all of our strategic plannings and our goals specifically. And then, of course, we had our award winners, which were honored at our association's June 4th dinner. And I'm pleased to announce that Alicia Brennan won the Pacesetter Award. Bob Wunderlich won the Certificate of Service Merit. JJC came in second for the award. Even though there was no award, we were second for the DEI award. We came very close, I will share that, being on the awards committee. And then the thing that was the most outstanding is we had one very outstanding award that was received by our president, Dr. Judy Mitchell, the Gary W. Davis Ethical and Leadership Award. Judy, good going.
Thank you very much.
We recognized our officers and our regional chairs that served from 2020 to 2021. We had over 100 trustees, presidents, and administrators that completed the June 4th training. So thank you all that got your training that day. We were informed that the ICC staff will be facilitating several board retreats and self-evaluations the next few weeks. Ours was held on June 16th. I hope you all enjoyed Mr. Reed because he's going to all the community colleges and doing all of the retreats. And then dates that I want you to write down, September 10th and 11th is the ICCTA meeting at the Wyndham Springfield in Springfield. Then October 13th to 16th is the Association of Community College Trustees National Leadership Congress, which is in San Diego, California. And then November 12th through 13th is the ICCTA meeting that is also at the Schaumburg Hotel, the Marriott Schaumburg. And Alicia, I'm sure you noticed that you are now my delegate, my sub that's underneath me, if I can't make it. So I'd love to see you at all those so that you can see the follow-up and what we do. So we do have voting privileges at the ACCT. And if I need to bring you up to speed anything, I'd love to do that.
Thank you.
So just remember that September 11th, that's the next meeting that's coming up at the Wyndham in Springfield. Now, this came out today, and I want to address it because we're always concerned about DEI, and this came out of Springfield. And it says, Illinois is working on a path to equitable access to college for all students. Most colleges promote a message of diversity and inclusion, yet higher education leaders recognize Illinois still has a long way to go before every student receives the same opportunities to succeed. The Illinois Board of Higher Education hopes that their new 10-year strategic plan can address that. Board members hopped to launch the process in 2020. However, because of COVID, it got delayed. Board Chair John Atkinson says virtual learning put even more inequities into the spotlight. He also said we really had unequal access to the tools needed to be able to have a higher education and for everybody in the state to be able to thrive. 10,000 people helped jumpstart the process by completing a survey for the board. Then a large committee of stakeholders spent 9 months analyzing the most significant issues that students are facing today. Leaders hope to address those issues by meeting 3 goals: equity, sustainability, and growth. They hope the plan can close gaps in enrollment, retention, and completion rates for Black and Latino students and those who live in rural communities. So as you notice, they're looking at the Black, the Latinos, and the rural communities. Research used by the board shows 47% of white adults in Illinois have a post-secondary degree, yet only 29% of the Black Illinoisans and 20% of the Latino people in the state achieve that goal. Board members want universities and community college to create more summer bridge programs to help students transition to college. They could also provide support for basic needs like housing, food security, mental health, or child care services. And because it said mental health, I'm going to throw this out because I know that Michelle, our trustee Michelle Lee, has mentioned that there's mental health that she wants to bring into the picture, because I think we all know that mental health is, I think we're all suffering from mental health, from being not social. The COVID has really done something. So I think this is a key thing that I think is going to be on our August, if I'm not mistaken, August agenda. And then they have high hopes for a higher education funding model. They also want more funding and opportunities for people to receive MAP grants. Leaders are pushing for a true funding model for Illinois colleges and universities, which have struggled with funding cuts for almost 2 decades. It became significantly worse during the budget impasse 2015 to 2017. Atkins says, I call it a trauma to the financial health of our higher education system. It was a gut punch to higher ed. $1.2 billion in reduction in that period of time was just horrible and devastating to us. A bill recently passed out of both chambers could create an equitable funding commission to try and solve the problem. Many hope the proposal is signed into law, since funding approaches have exacerbated inequities and lead to more debt for students and their family. And that's what I think we're concerned about, is the more debt. Our institutions have suffered significantly, and it really has translated to difficulty for our students in Illinois, per Atkinson's. And it's not just the more underrepresented students. It's been impacted for students across the board. Atkins says Pritzker administration knows college affordability is the major issue. He noted growth could also come from stronger relationships between education, institution, and innovation centers. Couldn't speak. Atkinson also said, we really have never had the kind of partnership between our economic development arm and higher education in this state. So part of the strategic plan addresses this by creating a statewide business and employers council. Board members hope this can help produce the talent needed for the growing economy. Atkinson feels that it will help everyone across the state. He said regional partnerships are great for students, but the holistic approach could make even more opportunities pop up. He also believes we'll be able to not only meet the needs of the local economy, but also produce graduates with degrees and credentials needed to fill jobs throughout the state. The board has asked both all the public, private, and community schools to create equity plans with the information from this document. Atkinson explained that the board will help facilitate those changes later on. They look at best practices and we can collaborate with other higher education institutions, he said. And then as a part of the accountability and implementation phase, we look at those numbers and we're going to track the process. So I think this is key, that the state is looking at it, the State Board of Education is looking at it, and at higher education. So I hope that if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me, but I hope that that's enough public information. We had a lot of bills that were presented to us at the ICCTA that Julie went over, so I wasn't going to reduplicate that. But the ICCTA is a real critical piece of our community colleges and what we belong. And I think that makes us stronger in what we do, and it unifies us across the state of Illinois. And if you don't have any questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 9.3, David with the student trustee report.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, thank you. Before I get started, I'd just like to say graduation went very well. There were a lot of tears from a lot of the graduates from a tough year we had. So I just like to thank everyone for coming down and giving our graduates a great time. So just kind of echoing what Dean Bob Morris said. So to get started, oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to talk about today, I don't have too much to talk about. It's going to be kind of quick. Things are kind of slowing down a little bit, but at the same time, they're kind of not. So first thing is OSA statistics, tutoring and learning center statistics, Pride Month, Ally Spotlights, ICCTA conference, upcoming and past events, and then trio events. So the Office of Student Activities during the fall and spring, I found these very interesting because I'm very heavily involved in OSA. We reached 179 students were engaged in the Office of Student Activities, and that was 1,288 interactions with students, meeting clubs, events, student government, online programming, communication between employees and students. And then the average GPA was 3.15. So just keep that in mind. And we're looking at 322 completed event surveys. So every time you go to an event, you have to complete an event survey to see how it went. We got a very high score, as you can see, 4.86 out of 5. And we had 383 club events, meetings and club events held. Also, 69 were virtual. And as you'll see later on, things are kind of going back in person. So it's looking kind of bright. So Tutoring Learning Center, they kind of reached out to me. Thanks to Dr. Farmer, I was able to get in contact with them. And the biggest thing they're trying to do is break that kind of stigma of going to the Tutoring Learning Center, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm failing a class, so that's when I go. And even then, sometimes people don't feel that they can reach out to them. So they kind of, we were talking and we kind of reviewed how much I know about them. And well, just to give you some statistics before I get into that, they had 2,511 contacts with students, 88 different courses, 99% said they'd return and for another appointment, 99% said they'd recommend it to another friend, another peer. And then they also had like an April escape room, which would teach them like study habits, things like that. I didn't mention that last time, but they're trying to get more out there in terms of like with OSA and things like that. And then like I said, I'm currently trying to work with them to try and break that stigma. Hopefully I'm going to take a tour there soon, see what they got. Like I said, it's not just for, if you're failing a class, it's for if you want a place to study, if you need, I know they have some of the models there. They have like the skeleton models, even for like the automotive students, they have like the engines and things like that. So I was actually it's very intriguing to learn that. So there is a lot of opportunity there. We just got to break that stigma. So hopefully I can do that. I'm still working on that, but hopefully I'll have an update in maybe August and maybe like a plan of some kind. And then I also just want to recognize Pride Month for all the LGBTQ out there. Pride Month, congrats to you guys. I would give a shout out to our club we have, but it's not really active at the moment. They're trying to rebuild the Pride Alliance. They used to be GLAM, but now they're the Pride Alliance. But I just wanted to recognize that. And also they had ally spotlights, people who took the Safe Zone training. All of them were recognized on Instagram and Facebook. I saw it pretty much throughout the whole month. It was very nice to see all the, I think there was like 200 people. Don't quote me on that. I think it was somewhere around there. And then the ICCTA convention, as Trustee Broderick was talking about, very well. We talked a lot. I learned a lot about the legal side in terms of like conflict of interest, the Open Meetings Act. We got more in depth in that sense. And then as you can see on the left right there, I'm also standing with a fellow student trustee. She's from Central College. And it also gave me an opportunity to meet, I think it was he was from Lake County College. Yeah. So I got to kind of meet some student trustees and it was pretty interesting. We got to kind of talk a little bit and I got all their contact info so we can kind of run ideas off of each other. So that was really nice. And going back to kind of what Trustee Broderick was saying, I think if we had some kind of like session for the student trustees, that would be really nice because I had to run to go find them down the hallway. I think Dr. Judy Mitchell saw that. I was like, let me go catch up to them. I had to kind of go run. So, yeah. So if we could get that, that'd be nice. And like I said, I just like to recognize again, Dr. Mitchell for winning the Gary W. Davis Ethical Leadership Award. So let's just give another round of applause for that one.
Too kind, David. Thank you.
2 rounds of applause. Yeah. And then I also want to, again, Alicia Brennan for winning the Paysetter Award, and then Bob Wunderlich Certificate of Service Merit. And then we also, I don't think Trustee Broderick mentioned this, but she got elected ICCTA Treasurer. So congrats to her as well. Give her a round of applause. That wasn't brought up, but so it was very interesting. I had a very good time, and I know Nationals coming up in, I think, October. I'm really considering it. I just got to look at my schedule. So great time. And for my next thing, I just want to kind of go over some upcoming events. Like I said, it's kind of slowed down, but it kind of hasn't. So two I want to point out specifically, the Paint and Picnic, that one's coming up in July. But there was going to be a softball game that was going to be in person with like social distancing and all that in place. However, we did not have enough people for that, so they canceled it. So those are the kind of two I want. And they're trying to keep students engaged right now. However, it's been kind of hard, low outturn due to kind of just everything going back to normal. I think we can all agree people are just not really in tune with what's going on here. So people are, hitting the city, going outside, things like that, which is nice and all, but it's really affecting OSA right now. So hopefully in the fall we can kind of recover from that. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I got there. And then should be one more. Like I said, there's some more events coming up. Trio's hosting, I think this was like 20 events. A lot of these events are kind of focused on life skills, such as like how to spend money, how to critically think. I know one of them, like I said, the spending money aspect was they would give us, the student $50 and they'd go to a store and see how they would spend it, how to really budget yourself on $50, which I don't even know if I could do that. So like I said, Trio's really trying to get out there. They've actually had a couple events that have had decent outturn. They've had quite a bit of outturn, but there was some that didn't get as much. But like I said, I'm planning on attending a couple. Again, I have to look at my schedule as always, and hopefully I can attend. But the in-person events are really starting to get on track, and things are looking bright. So yeah, can move forward. So is there any questions?
I'm just going to give you a comment. The ACCT convention that's coming in October has things strictly devoted to the student trustees. And that's where, and I'm sure Alicia can confirm this with me too, that we saw our student trustee constantly going with their fellow student trustees in activities, even though we tried to gather them into the group. So it's really good for student trustees.
Yeah,
A lot of good
that's-
activities.
I figured there's probably more there. So I like I said, I'm really considering, I got to look at my schedule. But hey, it's been a while since I've been to California. It's right, San Diego, right?
San Diego.
Ooh.
Airport's walking distance to the hotel.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I just want to say you do a really great job, and I appreciate all the time you take into doing your reports. It really helps us as trustees know and understand what's going on with the college, so thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great job. And I was going to say, if you need a few more softball players, I might be able to recruit some of my cabinet members.
Softball with the Prez?
Yeah, you just never know. So
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Keep us posted.
Just a quick comment. David, I understand that the city of Joliet and Joliet Junior College are partnering to do the 4th of July fireworks here on
yes.
campus. So I don't know if that's something you might want to just let the students know if they want to come out here and, watch the fireworks. I think, just letting them know awareness. That's all.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people coming here because they know it's here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere from what I saw. I think I saw it pop up
Tell
on
them they
my...
got to bring their own beer though.
No grilling, no alcohol.
I guess we're giving it the one-day
was
rule
gonna
of
say,
no,
it's school
no liquor.
property,
No
no
alcohol, no grilling.
Oh, shucks.
Special
Do we have a
insurance.
motion?
We won't be
We
serving.
have Chief Campbell here, so he's going to keep an eye on everyone.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Not a question, but a comment. We did have some other faculty that was actually nominated for award at the ICCTA. I know Brian, adjunct.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, if I missed anyone, I'm sorry about
No,
that.
I just want to recognize
Yeah.
that there were some other nominations that were, pretty important. He actually got to sit at the table with the rest of the cabinet and
Right.
put him on the spot. So, but I don't know Brian's last name.
Brian Joliet.
Brian Joliet,
he's
yeah.
adjunct, and then Mary Beth Luna for full-time faculty member.
Yes.
Yes, it's important that we recognize them too, because they were recognized by their peers at that meeting as well.
Right, that
so.
is true. Yeah, thank you. Sorry I didn't recognize you out there if you're listening. And yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Sorry about that. Any other questions?
Thank you for the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Buildings and Grounds Report. And Jake was not here at the Buildings and Grounds Report. I know that he would like for me to mention that he is reproduced and a team of scientists.
He
been
just
rushed to
had
the
a little
hospital.
boy.
And Jay's 22 inches, 9.2 pounds. And
Yeah,
and mom and baby are doing well.
they're sleeping well, he said.
The facility service projects. It was a quick meeting. In bidding is the theater carpet replacement and the theater stage floor. In the process of going into bidding, camera replacement and the keyless entry. Parking lot improvements are in construction, the crack ceiling, Renaissance Center facade repair, radiant heat H building, the D building, the V building add VAV, chiller piping insulation, and ANS AHU replacement. All of those systems need replacement. City Center campus respiratory therapy, campus police station, bridge connecting, and J&T buildings. They are all in process, except respiratory therapy is not. It's it's done. Ceiling is installed. The city center grading is in process. The concrete walks have been changed. There was a slight delay because there was a union strike for a few days, but that's over. Campus police construction process is bid documents will be into purchasing by the end of June, July bidding, September Board of Trustees approval, construction starting in October. In the bridge connecting the J&T buildings, updates estimates with final design development process documents. That's where that is. Everybody was excited about the Workday platform HCM finance project. That's completed conversion of college data to Workday. That's going to be Monday, June 26th. That's going to go into rollout. Completed Workday final data validation, rolled out employee and manager training, initiating catch-up transactions in Workday starting June 11th through the 25th and starting the 26th. Moving Workday to production for recruiting, HCM benefits, finance, payroll, procurement, expenses on June 26th. Student recruiting and admissions project, initiating end-to-end testing, preparing user experience testing, UET. Okay, those are the highlights from the meetings, from the summary points. And Jake's report, hopefully we haven't broken any HIPAA violations by commenting on the wellness of the participants. That's all for buildings and grounds. Next is President's Report.
Hey, good evening. First of all, I'd like to begin, Trustee Lee, you received a document in front of you, or all of the board tonight, on behalf of Dr. Farmer, her initial review on the MEN project. So she does have a call into the Executive Director, Stephanie, that you referred to us, and she will be back in August at the workshop with the full presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Next, before I begin, too, I want to thank a special shout out to Cecil and Jeff, the great work they did on the bond refunding. So you have a letter in front of you this evening. The interest rates came in very positive in our favor, and will save additional funding for the college, so long term. So thank you to both of you for your great work, and for Trustee O'Connell and Trustee Garcia for coming in and signing all of the numerous documents. My report tonight is quite lengthy, but I'm going to be very respectful of your time. So I asked Joan to send it to you via email. So it's about 6 pages. But it's always important at the end of the fiscal year to highlight some of the great work that we've been doing throughout the year. First of all, just going back a little bit with Trustee Broderick, I attended the President's Council meeting on June 3rd. In addition to many of the highlights that the trustees here, we are making the decision to return to campus this fall, although it varies throughout the state. And as far as the mandates and the PPE, I'm very excited about, first of all, the return. I'm just ready to see everyone's faces. So I'm bringing back all of my direct reports on July 6th, with the full campus return on August 9th. We will, at the beginning of fall semester, we will keep all of our PPE in place and continue to monitor to make sure that the vaccination rate goes up and the COVID positivity rate goes down. So we're excited and looking forward to having all of our employees back. They also advise us to continue to follow the IDPH and CDC guidelines, which we are, and there is a difference and a variance between K-12 and higher education. So we'll continue to work with our local health departments. Kara Anderson, our EHS manager, has done a phenomenal job, as well as Pat Van Dyne in facilities. Free college discussions continue across the state and federal levels, and it's going to be added to the next President's Council agenda for further follow-up and discussion. And then we talked about the new legislation passed that's affecting higher education. So all of those bills were passed on to my cabinet members. They are assessing the impact to Joliet Junior College and to the impact that we have, and what we are going to revisit in July. Again, congratulations to Cecil and Jeff and their team for receiving the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association Award for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. It's again the highest form of recognition in government accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. So again, great work to the finance team. Student Trustee Lozano, wonderful article in the Herald newspaper. David spoke to his passion advocating for diversity at Joliet Junior College. In addition to his focus on enrollment, David will look to engage programs that support employers' needs to assist job placement after graduation. So thank you, David. The HR office embarked on uncharted territory this past year due to the perfect storm that impacted the college at once: COVID-19, racial injustice, social and political unrest. So while we've been committed to the mission of transforming the lives of the students and communities we serve through the engagement of the whole employee, we pivoted quickly and as we leveraged our most important asset and distinctive advantage, our people. We will continue building the capacity for agility in the Office of Human Resources, people, processes, and optimized technology to meet the ever-changing and diverse needs of our students. Within your form, you'll be able to go through and read all of the bullet points. I mean, there's just multiple projects that have been initiated and followed through. We've evolved the service model, the talent acquisition and employee engagement, and Dr. Whitehead continues to share everything we're doing in that area. And then learning and development. So again, great work. I'm extremely pleased with her leadership and her team. They've truly pulled together to support the institution. Next, the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Compliance that believes that creating a safe place to have difficult conversations is an effective tool to foster personal growth, inclusivity, and for expanding one's worldviews and perspectives. So you'll find within my report, you're going to see the launch of the Diversity Book Club, which I was a part of, Reading White Fragility. It was an excellent opportunity for our employees to be engaged. They will be rolling out for fiscal year 22. The book will be Blind Spot, Hidden Biases of Good People and How to Be an Anti-Racist. We have rolled out the cultural competency workshops for fiscal year 21. Over 700 of our employees completed the workshop in total. And now we're going through a train the trainer process. So we will have trainers on campus that will be conducting the training for our adjunct faculty and those that were unable to attend this past year. They've initiated peace circles, partnering with Lewis University and the Gross Institute for Dialogue, Justice, and Social Action, a division of Lewis, to train 8 JJC employees to become circle keepers. And we've initiated and rolled out table talks, partnering DEI, partnering with HR to facilitate table talks regarding employees' concerns around returning to work. Chairman O'Connell talked about our Workday implementation for HR and Finance. We're so excited, I can't wait. It's going to go live effective on June 26th for payroll. The remaining HR and Finance functionality will go live with the start of the college's fiscal year 2022 on July 1st. Our first paycheck will come out on July 15th from the new system, so good luck to Jeff and his team. You will be the first to hear if it doesn't go right. Our mission, although I'm very confident, Jim, the team, Cecil, I'm very confident it'll be fine. Our Mission Possible kicked off on February 2020, and after a brief pandemic-induced pause, restarted and marched fearlessly to the finish line. The efforts of our staff, implementation partners, AVAP, and Workday have been extraordinary, especially considering the largely remote and virtual pandemic operating environment. And I also do want to give a shout out to Jerome Godlock. He has just been a phenomenal partner throughout this entire process. Our apprenticeship programs, the college has expanded their apprenticeship programs through a grant received through AACC. We also received national recognition through National Apprenticeship Week. We have, in fact, because of that, the Illinois Community College Board contracted with the College for Information Technology Apprenticeship Grant. We have expanded our dual credit expansion this month. So in addition to Bio 125 being offered at both Plainfield East and South this fall, we have 2 more new offerings from Natural Sciences. Chem 101 will be offered at Wilmington High School and Bio 146 offered at Minooka Community High School again this fall. And for the first time, we're offering summer dual credit courses this year. Psych 101 and Finance 101 will be offered at Plainfield District 202. Thank you to Dr. Gray and her team. Some of our student and program successes, we had a 100% pass rate on our EMT National Registry exam thus far for our students, even with online live lecture during COVID and Illinois' recent transition from state to national testing. Our nursing, our NCLEX pass rates remain above 92% above state and national standards, despite 11 other Illinois programs being put out on probation due to poor pass rates related to COVID. So again, great work to all of our team. Let's see, we'll go through, I'm saving you time. Our essential workers, thank you to our essential workers. They kept the campus as a safe and healthy environment during the worst pandemic in modern times by achieving the following. Facilities and grounds implemented PPE and sanitation practice protocols relative to COVID-19. Environmental and safety, COVID-19 testing and vaccination clinics continue on our campus. Campus police maintained a safe and secure campus. Financial services kept employees paid and continued essential services. Procurement kept essential operations moving forward, and the bookstore continued to serve our students both in the virtual and on-campus environment. Our athletes, 18 student athletes, earned NJCAA Academic All-American Awards. Our academic intervention and support in spring 2021, the TLC had 2,511 contacts with students and tutored students in 88 different courses. So again, great work in academic intervention and support. Enrollment management planned and executed its first ever virtual and drive-through graduation ceremony. We, again, thank you everyone involved. We're going to have a little ice cream social for them next Monday. Over 368 cars and over 59 faculty and staff, including our board members, participated in the drive-through ceremony. Both were highly successful. Actually, I think the ice cream social is Tuesday from 1 to 3. So for our board members, you're welcome to stop by and thank everyone. And you know, again, we couldn't do it without all the support of our faculty and staff. Student Success will celebrate the launch of our new Center for Multicultural Access and Success, CMAS, on July 1, 2021. I saw the signage today in the hallway. CMAS recognizes and celebrates the unique academic and personal journey of each JJC student. Can I say CMAS? It just is easier than CMAS. CMAS will provide seamless support services to increase retention and completion rates of diverse learners. They will formally celebrate with a grand opening in September 2021. So they look forward to recognizing this milestone with ribbon cutting ceremony surrounded by students, faculty, staff, board members, and supporters from the campus community. And finally, I just want to, again, it's the end of the year, the end of the fiscal year. I need to end on such a high note. This past year, year and a half has been, for lack of a better term, a booger, to say it nicely. It has been a strain, a stress on our faculty, our staff, our employees. However, the work that we have accomplished, I am so proud of each and every one are in this room, every one of our faculty, our staff, our employees, our students who fought this battle with us. They stuck with us. They worked with us. They worked through. They provided survey information to help us to continue to grow our classes, our courses. They worked with our faculty members to improve our online delivery. So now we have online, hybrid, high flex, plus face-to-face, all to meet the needs of our students. So all of this work, all of these successes throughout the year, our trainings, Workday, the phenomenal leadership around this table, and the support is just unbelievable. And I cannot end this year without thanking everyone. We are working on, at the cabinet level, working on some type of a celebration when everyone returns this fall. So we're still, the wheels are turning, but stay tuned on that Welcome Back Week. So with that concludes my report, and I wish everyone a wonderful, safe, and healthy summer.
Can I add one thing? And this is what Babe Ruth said, and based off of what Dr. Mitchell has just said, together Babe Ruth said, a team is everyone that plays the sport. It's not one individual. And JJC would not be successful unless it had a team of people like Babe Ruth on his team did. So with that, I want to commend the president and the staff, the cabinet, and all involved,
This goes
because
to my
I think
team.
it's well deserved.
Team and to our employees.
My report starts, you just keep on clapping. I'd echo these things that's going on, especially Dr. Mitchell, especially Maureen Broderick. This has been the kind of a year, and the place didn't fall apart. The wheels didn't come off. Nobody fell by the wayside. Everybody kept rolling, and that's good. And I can't end without mentioning graduation again, and Bob Morris, and the picture I will always have of looking at the events building of there with the sign that says "Feel the Howl" or "Hear the Howl." I can't even remember exactly what it says right now. Hear the howl, and watching the families roll through with the whole family, including the family dog, and seeing the little dog howling in the back seat when it went past the mascot, and it was hilarious. It's something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.
And give credit to Mike Hernandez, our wolf. that stayed in Wolf's Clothing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, of course, he was like,
He's a Riley
he was,
rock star.
his shoes had to be wet after, after he got done with that. And we're going to go into a closed session, hopefully not for a long time. We won't be having any action after that's over with. And that concludes my report. Oh, and you've received your assignments as far as committees. Everybody's got that. We're going to try to we're going to try to have committee reports follow the same as the senior leadership and be 5 minutes. You know, we won't behead anyone if you go over 5 minutes. Maybe we won't, but that's the idea. And that concludes my report.
Chairman, can I just, for the new trustees, so, for the committee assignments, we will have each of the cabinet members, the respective cabinet members reach out to all of the committees because some of them are new, the policy committee and things like that. And so we'll reach out to you and set up that first meeting so you understand where we, the direction we want to move in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're adjourned. Well, no, we're not adjourned. We're going into closed session. We're just going to take 5 minutes.
Okay, Joan has to, and
Joan,
For 2C1. And
can we
need a
have,
motion.
can we have a motion and
So
can
moved.
you get us into a closed session?
For 2C1, Joan.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Broderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Aye.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales.
Yes.
And O'Connell.
Yes.